I never imagined I'd witness someone physically dragging my 78-year-old father out of an ambulance. Yet that's exactly what happened last Tuesday, all because our HOA president, Karen Wilkinson, decided her precious landscaping bylaws outweighed a man's life. Let me take you back. My father, a Vietnam veteran and Purple Heart recipient, moved in with me 6 months ago after my mother passed away. He's had a long history of heart trouble, so I wanted him close. We live in Oakwood Estates, one of those picture-perfect suburban neighborhoods with pristine lawns, identical mailboxes, and, unfortunately, an HOA ruled with an iron fist by Karen. From the very first day, Karen made it clear that she considered us a problem. The American flag my dad insisted on flying was 3 inches larger than regulation size. A bird bath in my backyard, according to her, was a breeding ground for disease-carrying animals. Every week, another violation notice showed up in my mailbox, always signed with her syrupy sweet handwriting that barely hid her contempt. "Mr. Davis," she would coo, her smile tight, "we take community standards very seriously here. Perhaps if you can't adhere to them, Oakwood Estates isn't the right fit for you." I usually just smiled and told her I'd take her suggestions under advisement. Watching the way her eye twitched in barely controlled rage almost made it worth it. Then came last Tuesday. I was working from home when my father suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed in the kitchen. Panic surged through me as I dialed 911 and began CPR. The dispatcher assured me help was on the way, and within minutes, the sound of sirens filled the cul-de-sac. Relief washed over me, until I saw Karen storming across her immaculate lawn, arms flailing. As the EMTs rushed toward the front door, Karen intercepted them. "Excuse me," she barked. "Commercial vehicles are not permitted to park in driveways according to Section 7.3 of our bylaws. You'll need to park on the street and carry your equipment from there." For a split second, the paramedics froze, caught off guard by her sheer audacity. "My father is having a heart attack," I shouted from the doorway. "Let them through right now." Thankfully, the EMTs ignored her and pushed past, their focus fixed solely on saving my dad's life. They worked quickly, stabilizing him enough to move him onto a gurney. As they wheeled him toward the ambulance, Karen positioned herself at the end of my driveway like a gatekeeper, arms crossed, foot tapping. "I've documented this violation," she sneered. "The board will be reviewing it, along with your unauthorized garden gnome and those hideous solar lights." I wanted to scream at her, but all my energy was locked on my father, pale and fragile on the stretcher. The EMTs loaded him into the ambulance, and I climbed in after him, clutching his hand, whispering that he was going to be okay. That's when the shouting began. One of the EMTs was trying to close the doors when Karen wedged herself in the gap. "You need to move this vehicle immediately," she shrieked. "It's blocking the view of the neighborhood fountain, which is a violation of—" "Ma'am, we're in the middle of a medical emergency," the paramedic said firmly. "Step back so we can transport this patient." What happened next still feels unreal. Karen reached inside the ambulance, grabbed my father's arm, and began pulling him toward the doors. "If he's well enough to break HOA rules," she hissed through clenched teeth, "then he's well enough to move this eyesore of a vehicle." My father, still half-conscious and strapped to monitoring equipment, let out a pained groan. The paramedic yelled for help while trying to keep him steady. I lunged forward, pried Karen's hand off my father, and shoved her back from the doors. "Are you insane?" I shouted, my voice shaking with fury and fear. "He'll die if he doesn't get to the hospital right now." Karen's face twisted with outrage. "How dare you put your hands on me? This is assault. I am the president of this HOA, and you will respect my authority." She whipped out her phone and began recording, her voice dripping with venom. "I want everyone to see how this man and his father have been terrorizing our community with their constant violations." And just as the chaos reached its breaking point, the wail of another siren cut through the air. A police cruiser pulled up to the curb. In our county, it's standard procedure for a police officer to accompany ambulances responding to emergencies. That day, it was Officer Jenkins, someone I recognized from community outreach events, who arrived on the scene. With one quick glance, he took in the chaos. Karen immediately latched onto him like he was her salvation. "Officer, I want this man arrested," she demanded, jabbing her finger at me while still blocking the ambulance doors. "He assaulted me while I was enforcing our community's legally binding covenants. These people have been problematic residents since they arrived." Meanwhile, the paramedics wasted no time explaining what really happened, that Karen had physically grabbed a critical patient in the middle of transport. One of them even pointed out that the ambulance's security camera had captured the entire incident. Officer Jenkins listened patiently, then turned to Karen. His tone was calm but firm. "Ma'am, I need you to step away from the ambulance immediately." Karen's face flushed red, her voice dripping with indignation. "Do you understand who I am? I have the full backing of the neighborhood board and our attorney. These people are in violation of at least 7 different bylaws right now, including—" "Ma'am," Officer Jenkins cut her off, his patience thinning. "I don't care if you're the Queen of England. You are interfering with emergency medical personnel and endangering a patient's life. Step away from the vehicle now." But Karen wasn't finished. Instead of complying, she tried to hand him a copy of the HOA bylaws like it was some sort of legal shield. That was the last straw. With the whole neighborhood now gathered on lawns and sidewalks, watching in stunned silence, Officer Jenkins made his decision. "Karen Wilkinson," he said clearly, "you're under arrest for assault and interfering with emergency services." Gasps rippled through the crowd as he gently but firmly turned her around, cuffed her wrists, and read her rights. Karen shrieked about property values and her duty as HOA president all the way to the patrol car, her voice fading only when the door slammed shut behind her. The ambulance finally pulled away, carrying my father to the hospital. By some miracle, and thanks to the paramedics' persistence, he made it in time for life-saving intervention. Later, the doctor told me that even a few more minutes of delay could have been catastrophic. 3 weeks later, I found myself in a courtroom, watching Karen Wilkinson's self-assured smile finally collapse. The judge's ruling was decisive, guilty on all charges. She was sentenced to 200 hours of community service, ironically at the VA hospital where my father was receiving follow-up care. She was also fined $5,000 and ordered to complete an anger management program. But the most devastating blow came at the very end. The judge, himself a veteran, fixed Karen with a hard stare. "Ms. Wilkinson," he said, his voice heavy with authority, "your role as HOA president does not place you above the law or above basic human decency. I am issuing a restraining order prohibiting you from coming within 100 feet of Mr. Davis or his father." The color drained from Karen's face. The implication was immediate. With a restraining order in place, she could no longer serve as HOA president. Her reign was effectively over. "But, Your Honor," she sputtered, desperate. "I've been president for 7 years. The community needs me. Who will enforce the standards?" The judge didn't even blink. "I suggest you find a new hobby, Ms. Wilkinson. One that doesn't involve harassing elderly veterans." With a sharp crack, his gavel fell. And just like that, Karen Wilkinson's iron grip over Oakwood Estates ended, not with a triumphant speech from her, but with the satisfying sound of justice being served.